final episode in this current series of our Hidden Histories, we jump forward in time to 1900, when Robert Carr Bosanquet was director at the British School at Athens. Since 1895 and the departure of Ernest Gardner, the BSA had already undergone a number of changes. A hostel with space for 9 male students was constructed, and fieldwork opportunities in Central and East Crete were just opening up. As was the case with the previous directors, Bosanquet was accompanied in Athens by his family, including his wife, Ellen. Dr. Amara Thornton tells us more about her life.
Robert Carr Bosanquet, in his second year as director of the BSA, married Ellen Sophia Hodgkin. Ellen had read modern history at Somerville College, also the alma mater of Emily Penrose, subject of an earlier episode in this series. Their journey from Britain to Athens took place just months after their honeymoon. Ellen described the Athens she came to know in her first book, Days in Attica. A city of whiteness and brightness, a city of sun and wind, of mountain freshness and dazzling sun-dried air. Soon thereafter, in the spring of 1903, Ellen gave birth to Charles Bosanquet, the first and only child born in the Upper House. According to Helen Waterhouse's History of the BSA, American school student Gisela Richter often pushed the baby in his pram. One of the photographs of the Upper House garden in the BSA archive shows a little boy, a toddler, who is very probably Charles. Another event Ellen Bosanquet witnessed during her time in Athens was the arrival of famous American dancer Isadora Duncan. Duncan took inspiration from the rustling trees of the city. Ellen recalled, "I am continually grateful for the memory of her long white draperies whirling light-heartedly down the long avenue before what was then the Crown Prince's Palace." Both Bosanquets had a keen interest in the garden. It was during this time that the pine trees between the hostel and the Upper House were planted, and many of the paths in the garden were laid. There is a humorous story told by Ellen in her book, Days in Attica, of a time they persistently found a goat grazing in the garden at night. Even after ejecting it and locking the gate, the goat returned to serenade the Bosanquets with its bleating each morning. After several days of this, they confronted the goatherd. Inexplicably angry, he countered that the gardener had been selling him timeshares in the BSA garden for grazing. Just down the steps from this Upper House lawn, Bosanquet has been memorialized with an exedra in his beloved garden, erected by friend and fellow BSA student Henry Fletcher after Bosanquet's death in 1935. More women, including the Homeric scholar Hilda Lorimer, were also now being admitted as students, though they weren't accommodated in the hostel. It was another 25 years after its construction before the hostel would admit female students in 1920. Up until that point, most of the women who came to the BSA stayed in the center of town at Merlin House, a building which no longer stands. In 1914, Ellen Bosanquet began her career as an author. Her book, Days in Attica, which mixes autobiographical observations of her time spent in Greece with straight history, was published that year. A follow-up guide to Athens, The Tale of Athens, appeared in 1932. Together with her husband, she published a collection of letters and light verse in 1938, and her memoirs were published posthumously in 1979 as Late Harvest Memories, Letters, and Poems. Clearly, the years spent in Athens were formative, not only for Ellen Bosanquet, but also for Emily Penrose and Mary Gardner. They might not be as well-known scholars as Margaret Hasluck, Lillian Jeffrey, Sylvia Benton, or Winifred Lamb, but their experiences and lives are important parts of BSA history. Emily Penrose had the most prominent public life after her time here, while Mary Gardner and Ellen Bosanquet both put their Greek experience to work in print. In this way, although we have to look very closely and piece together diary entries, letters, photographs, portraits, and even buildings and gardens to find them, the histories of the women of the Upper House might be hidden, but they will certainly never be forgotten.
We hope you've enjoyed learning more about the lives of Emily Penrose, Mary Gardner, and Ellen Sophia Bosanquet, and about the time they spent here at the Upper House. All three women played important roles in the intellectual and social life of Athens in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, and we are proud as an institution to commemorate them. If you would like to see more from our Hidden Histories series, please let us know by contacting us through our website www.bsa.ac.uk. Stay safe, stay well, stay home.